crazy aspects of billionaire Jeff Bezos' life. Hey guys, it's Alexa and welcome back to another video. He earned the title of the world's wealthiest person in 2017. In the past 2 years, his wealth has only grown. Let's take a look at the interesting life that Amazon founder Jeff Bezos leads. But before we get into today's video, you know the drill. Make sure that you're subscribed and ring the bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. A rocket man. Jeff Bezos is now 55 years old. That means he was 5 years old when the Apollo 11 moon landing was on TV. At that moment, young Bezos decided he wanted to become an astronaut. Clearly, that dream didn't come to fruition, but thanks to his wealth, Bezos founded Blue Origin, aerospace manufacturer and spaceflight services company. Bezos estimates that Blue Origin will make its first passenger-carrying spaceflight in 2019. Fellow billionaires Elon Musk and Richard Branson own their respective space travel institutions, so it's not out of the ordinary for an extremely wealthy man to have a stake in the space race. Bezos also financed an expedition to recover the Apollo 12's lost rocket engine from the Atlantic Ocean's floor. Investing in other companies. What else does Bezos spend his billions on? Aside from space technology, he spends a significant amount of money on investments in other companies. Bezos' investments include businesses like Uber, Airbnb, and Google. In 1998, he invested $250,000 in Google and was one of the first shareholders. By 2017, those investments totaled to $3.1 billion. He makes other investments through his venture capital fund, Bezos Expeditions. Mr. Worldwide. Like a lot of rich people, Jeff Bezos dishes out money for his travels. He is an incredibly busy man, and a lot of his traveling is attributed to business matters. In 2014, he was evacuated via an Ecuadorian Navy helicopter after developing kidney stones when he was in the Galapagos Islands. In 2017, he was spotted vacationing in Rome, Italy, accompanied by his parents, siblings, their spouses, and his soon-to-be ex-wife, Mackenzie Bezos. Last year, he tweeted a video of him dog sledding above the Arctic Circle during his trip to Norway. His Amazon shares. The founder of Amazon remains the largest stockholder of his own company. He owns 16% of Amazon's shares. Amazon is Jeff Bezos' primary source of income. As reported this year, he has an estimated net worth of $137 billion. Bezos founded the multinational e-commerce company in 1994. Amazon is considered one of the big four technology companies, sometimes referred to as the Four Horsemen. The other three are Apple, Facebook, and Google. The Financial Times Global 500 list ranks Amazon as the most valuable public company in the world. Real estate. What do you do when you have what feels like endless amounts of money? Step 1, you buy land and houses. Step 2, you keep doing that. Bezos purchased a 27,000 square foot home in the fancy neighborhood of Kalorama in Washington, D.C. This house cost him $23 million. Additionally, he owns 3 linked apartments in Manhattan's Central Park West, as well as a 2-acre property in Beverly Hills, California. Bezos' home base is a lake house located in Medina, Washington. The land measures 5.3 acres and includes 2 homes. It's estimated that this place is worth $25 million. Oh, and his neighbor, Bill Gates. Giving back. It's rather common for people with a lot of wealth to give some of it to charity. Even though Bezos has not yet pledged to donate half of his wealth to charity like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have, he still gives a considerable amount. In 2015, WealthX reported out of the $54 million the Bezos Family Foundation has, $20 million was donated. In 2013, Bezos donated $2.7 million to the University of Washington Foundation and $15 million to his alma mater, Princeton. The Washington Post. It's apparent Bezos believes in the work that news outlets do. 2 years ago, he gave $1 million to the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press. In 2013, he purchased the Washington Post for $250 million. At the time, Washington Post was losing money. He bought the Post to serve as a financial cushion. Since his ownership, readership for the Post has risen once again. Preferred mode of transportation. Part of his collection of ridiculously expensive things includes a Gulfstream G650ER, a private jet that is priced at $65 million. This model is described as the longest range business jet. It reaches a speed of Mach 0.925. That's quite the expensive vehicle for a guy who continued to drive a 1996 Honda Accord even after he became a billionaire. Before he bought the Accord, which he was still using 6 years ago, he drove an '87 Chevy Blazer. on Wall Street. Now you know what he spends his money on. But let's take a look at Bezos' history. Bezos graduated from Princeton in 1986. Immediately, he received job offers from establishments like Anderson Consulting, Bell Labs, and Intel. Instead, he chose to work for a telecommunications startup called Fitel. After Fitel, he landed a comfortable job on Wall Street. In the 90s, he worked for hedge fund D.E. Shaw & Company in New York and became the senior vice president by the time he turned 30. 4 years later, he left his job and founded Amazon in his garage. One smart infant. His parents were not initially supportive of him giving up his Wall Street job to sell books online. They believed his new internet venture was too risky, though they knew their son was incredibly smart. When Bezos was a baby, he figured out how to take apart his crib. When he was a little older, he rigged an electric alarm so that his siblings couldn't go into his room. At 8 years old, his parents encouraged him to do sports because they thought he was already too bookish. His real parents. Jeff Bezos was born Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen to his mother, Jacqueline Gies Jorgensen, and his father, Ted Jorgensen. Ted left when Jeff was only 3 years old. He never really knew his father. His mother eventually married Cuban immigrant Miguel Bezos, who Jeff Bezos considers his natural father. Ted Jorgensen didn't even know how famous and wealthy his son was until 2013. The road to Amazon. It was 1993, and Bezos started his online bookstore. A year later, he left D.E. Shaw & Company. His parents came around supporting his dreams, so they invested $250,000 into his new company. On a trip from New York to Seattle, he wrote up a business plan for what would eventually become Amazon. Before he came up with the name Amazon, he named his bookstore Cadabra, but changed it after people often misheard him and thought his company was actually named Cadaver. He renamed it Relentless, and then eventually settled on Amazon. Fun fact, he still owns the relentless.com domain, so if you type that into the search bar, the browser redirects you to Amazon. Other quirks. Jeff Bezos is so rich that him spending $88,000 is equal to the average American spending $1. Some of his smaller spending habits are towards things like eating octopus for breakfast. Seriously, this man loves to eat octopus. There are rumors that he's eaten iguana before. Something he doesn't spend money on is alarm clocks. Bezos swears by sleeping the right amount, so he wakes up naturally every morning. If he knows a meeting will be mentally intense, Bezos makes sure to schedule it in the morning. He makes sure to attend all of his high IQ meetings before lunch. The 10,000-year clock. Just last year, Bezos announced he was building a 10,000-year clock. He plans for the clock to measure 500 feet tall. Bezos said he's been thinking and working on this clock since 1989. It's supposed to tick only once a year. It has a century hand, which advances, you guessed it, every 100 years. When it gets to the millennium, a little cuckoo will pop out. The giant clock can be found inside a mountain located in West Texas. Texas ties. Speaking of Texas, we should mention that Bezos is a big fan of this enormous place. The Lone Star State is not only the site of his crazy clock, but also an essential part of his childhood. His maternal grandfather owned a 25,000-acre ranch in Cotulla, Texas, and Bezos spent many of his summers there. His maternal ancestors owned a lot of land in Texas. The properties are still under his family's name, making them some of the largest landholders in the region. Bezos and the Defense Department. Think you knew all there was to know about Jeff Bezos? Did you know he was selected to join the Defense Innovation Board, a council that advises the U.S. Department of Defense? Others who are part of this board include astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, Marnie Levine, the CEO of Instagram, and Eric Schmidt, the executive chairman of Alphabet. Here is a photo of Jeff Bezos and Ash Crater, the physicist professor who also served the U.S. Department of Defense and was the 25th Secretary of Defense. Get to writing. Most work environments love the fact that you have PowerPoint skills, but Bezos could care less. Jeff Bezos actually banned his employees from creating PowerPoint presentations. He rathered they showed their writing skills. Bezos requires his staff to write and turn in 6-page proposals. He believes that this encourages more critical thinking in a way that skimming over information in bullet points does not. He makes the Amazon execs read these papers so that none of them can bluff their way through a meeting. Former McDonald's employee. We all start somewhere. Even Bezos worked at McDonald's for a time. He was 16 and in need of a summer job. McDonald's hired him as a fry cook in 1980, and Bezos said he learned a lot. While there, Bezos worked in the grill and was not allowed to talk to customers. Serving as a grill man felt challenging to Bezos anyhow because he needed to balance cooking despite everything in a rush of orders. It was his first experience in retail. He also spent that summer studying the McDonald's automation improvements in their cooking machinery. Before we get to number 1, we have a question for you. If you were as rich as Jeff Bezos, what would you spend your money on? Let us know in the comments below. News of his marriage. If you keep up with the current news, you know that Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Bezos have been making headlines lately. Mackenzie S. Tuttle Bezos is Jeff Bezos' soon-to-be ex-wife. The two recently announced their plans to divorce, and it's created quite a stir. This January, the couple announced on Twitter that they were divorcing after 25 years of marriage. In the online statement, Jeff and Mackenzie said even if they knew 25 years ago they would divorce, they would still do it all again.